to Bear Lifestyle, the podcast where we talk about taboo topics to make them normal and acceptable. I'm your host, Simona Spark, and I'm so happy that you are here. We are about to get naked by stripping away insecurities, judgments, and all kinds of limitations to reveal the essence of who we really are, Bear. Bold, authentic, radical, express. Let's go. Welcome to Bear Lifestyle Podcast. I'm happy you're here. Welcome back if you've been here before. And a special welcome for those of you that arrive here for the first time. I'm glad that you find us. Well, you know what? Special welcome for those of you that have been here before too. I realize that I keep saying special welcomes for the new ones. Everybody is special welcomed. So let's start with celebrations. Celebrating with water today. Celebrating myself and you and everyone who watches and listens to this episode. Cheers, cheers. So I was doing my hair, put some waves in it, and I was thinking of kinky hair and then kinky boots and kinky this and kinky that, and I do want to talk with you about kinks again. I mean, it's such a big topic. We will never stop talking about it. I know last week we barely scratched the surface on the differences between kinks and fetishes. So if you haven't watched that episode, please do so or listen to it. You could watch it on Spotify or on YouTube. So today I was just thinking about how kink, it's such a taboo topic. And I believe that it's taboo just because we associate it with sex. But it doesn't have to. Kink doesn't have to be associated with sex. You know that, right? So now that being said, I'm just curious what kink means to you. What do you think? What do you feel? What are the sensations that you're experiencing when you hear about kink or a kinky person? Now, please find in the description the Kink Appetite Quiz. I created that quiz. It's just 10 simple questions, really to open the door to the BDSM practices and kind of give you a direction of what your inclinations might be in this space. So now, what a kinky person means. Who gets to decide what is kinky and what is not? Because if you think about sex, like what is the primer purpose of sex, right? Is a male and a female having intercourse with the purpose of procreating. That's it. And he's on top, she's on the bottom, ejaculation happens, that's the end of it. And then we evolve, and then we figure out that actually it's pleasurable. And actually we could do other things with this activity besides just making babies. And then someone might decide it at some point, like, what about if we switch? What about if I, the female, I'm on top and he's in the bottom? And probably I won't go further than my grandparents, that might be something outrageous. That might be something kinky for them. If they will know the term, if they even knew the term. So the kink could be from that point, from that level, like who's to judge? It's nobody to judge. From that level to, I don't know where. I'm still exploring this and I'm still expanding on this space. Every time I reach a new level, if you wish, in this space, I just find out there is so much more. Things that I'm curious about, things that I'm learning and I want to experience, and also things that just like scare me, that I judge. I'm like, oh my God, these are like way out of control. But I used to think about that things that now for me are just boring. So that being said, it's just the evolution. Kinky space, it's a space of exploring, expanding, experimenting, endless possibilities and combinations, I'll dare to say it's a magical space that I want to invite you in. If this is something that you are curious about, or you are just thinking about it, but you, for whatever reason, did not dare to talk with anybody about it, just open the show notes description and book a call. Let's have a private conversation about this and see what kinks means to you and what will be your possible next step into expanding not only your sex life, but expanding your way of receiving and experiencing pleasure and life itself. So this podcast, that I created with the intention, as I say in opening promo, with the intention of normalizing all the taboo topics and make them acceptable. The only way we could do that is to actually talk about the goddamn thing. So just check with yourself. Again, what are your sensations when you hear about kinks or kink in person? Because here's the thing, and you could admit it or not, but for all of us at some point, when you hear kink or you hear BDSM, we immediately think sexy clothes, dominatrix, leather, whips, handcuffs, violence, pain. So when we think all that, what the brain will do will tell us to stop, because our brain job is to protect us. Will never say, yes, go there, where they gonna beat you for pleasure. Because if that's all the brain knows, then that's how the brain is gonna operate, and it's gonna signal you the stronger resistance that you could have towards kinks and BDSM practices, to not go there so you could be safe, so you could not experience pain. So now, with the right support, with the right facilitator, and in a safe space, you could open your mind, first of all, to understanding that there is pleasure in pain, and all those practices are done with consent. And there are ways in which you could actually draw pleasure from what appears to be painful. And this is why I really love to do healing with those practices. It's such a powerful healing method, because if you know anything about how healing works, how healing all patterns or trauma works, is, first of all, it's at mental level. Like, there is a lot of conversations and the brain needs to be engaged into the process to make sense, right? To create a plan and such, to shift our mindset, to open our mind. And then we drop into our body and we start feeling all these triggers, right? Triggers from trauma, from past pain. Those are the resistance that we have in our body, the pit in the stomach, the sweats, the just name it. You know your own, right? Then it's finding the methods and the safe space where we could release those sensations up until we get to the point when we have a conversation about the past traumatizing experiences, you no longer have a resistance in your body. You no longer trigger. That's will let you know that trauma is being healed, right? And so in this process of like mental and in your body, and then all the integration work that goes into it, and it could take months and years. I see it with myself. I see it with my clients. Probably you went through some kind of sort of healing so far in your life, or you know people that have done that. So what I got to experience with kinks, using it as a tool of healing, the process of healing gets shortened significantly. As we are talking about it, right, and what is the trauma and what are the points and what are the triggers, when we go to access them using kinks as tools, as we are shifting the mindset, as we are accessing those points, as we are releasing the trauma, the integration of the work also is happening in the same time. So I do want to stress one thing here. Do not try this if you never ever have done any type of healing around your trauma. And second, ensure that you are in a safe space and with the right person, regardless if that is a friend, a partner, a professional, a facilitator, that could hold you and guide you through the process. Now, before I even go deep into the pain and trauma and healing and all that, you could just think of the first thing that comes up and the thing that's underneath of whatever coping mechanism you have created throughout your life. It's shame, guilt, and fear. So having kinks being such a taboo topics also have the roots in those three elements, the fear of not have people looking at us that we are weird because we are kinky. If I'm standing on a stage in front of 100 people and I say I'm a kinky person, guess what? I'm gonna receive 100 different opinions because people will look at me based on what the kink means to them. So fear of being judged. Guilt, most of people that I talk with, they have some guilt underneath of their kinks. Kind of tied into the same thing, like, oh, I'm abnormal, feeling guilty to, that I ask my partner to do this thing to me and now, he's looking at me like I'm weird, or I might not be satisfied, or I don't think that he's good enough because I'm asking for other things. So then these two are really braided with shame. The shame that we feel about I'm not even talking about sexuality and kinks and fetishes and all that. I'm talking about shame around our desires. Like, really. Like, I want you to have a radical, honest conversation with yourself and even journal about it. I do believe there are people here that will find this helpful, or at least some elements, some parts of it, right? Ultimately, I'm here not to teach. Yeah, I love to teach. All I could teach is from where I'm at, from what I learned, what I read, what I experiment by myself as a client of the work, but also working with other people in this space. So I could only teach from that space. I'm not an expert, far from it. I might look like an expert for somebody, but for people that are way ahead of me, the people that I follow and learn from, I'm just a student, and I like to be a student of life first. So again, I'm not just here to teach, I'm here to help you. If you're in a space that you say, hey, I want to explore more about this, open the show notes, take the Kink Appetite Quiz. That is gonna be a simple, just scratching the surface, open the door to kind of get curious, like what might be your BDSM inclinations, right? Number two, if you're ready to have a conversation, then book a call and let's have a private conversation. It's going to be a full-on coaching session around whatever challenges or resistance you might have around these topics, right? And number three, access the dungeons. There is Kink Dungeons for men and Queen's Dungeon for women. You have 12 to 14 self-pleasure practices that it's something that you could do on your own, behind closed doors, on your own time, on your own speed. Like, really get to know yourself, get to know your body, identify what the triggers are coming from, identify what kind of pleasure do you like and where and how. Those are the intention of those practices. So go ahead and access the dungeons. Let me give you an exercise today. We talk about shame, guilt, and fear. And before we even get into, as I say, kinks and fetishes and BDSM, I just want you to pause and think about your desires. And they don't have to be sexual desires. They don't have to be desires in a relationship, in a romance, desires in general. So here's how this exercise will go. First of all, make a list of your desires. What do you want? What are your desires, right? And then for each desire, ask yourself, do I have any fear around this? What am I afraid of? That is going to happen or it's not going to happen. If I talk about it, what my partner will say, how my kids will react, what my mom will say. What are your fears, right? Number 2, is there any guilt around this desire? Am I feeling guilty for having this desire? Journal about it. And number 3, is there any shame attached to this desire? I mean, in general, we are afraid of being judged. We are afraid of being rejected or not included. We are feeling guilty for wanting more or wanting something different. And then we are ashamed of having those desires, really. So this will be, I believe, a good start of self-discovery and just having a radical, honest conversation with yourself in your journal. You don't have to report to anyone. You don't have to let anybody know, just for yourself. And if you feel ready to have a conversation about it, will be an amazing exercise to do it with your partner. Have your partner do the same exercise and then put the papers next to each other and have a conversation about it. If you're not ready for that, maybe you want to just talk with your friend, a trusted friend, your confidant, right? Or take it to your therapist or take it to your coach. You know where you are and you know what feels right to you. I mean, as a coach, I like to stretch my clients out of their comfort zone, but I will tell you this. I want my clients to experience a stretch, not a stroke. So if you look at this piece of paper that you write your desires and everything that you experience around them, and you might feel that you want to share this with your partner, but you are absolutely terrified, don't do it yet. Don't do it. Find what is the next intermediate step that might take you there. Might be talking with a friend, or as I say, take it to your therapist or to your coach. Or if you don't have any of this, then open the show notes and book a free call with me and let's talk about it. So that's that. That's what I have for today. Again, I just want to invite you to take the kink out of the taboo topics and just embrace it as something that is so magical, so vast, endless possibilities that you get to explore yourself, your desires, regardless if they are in a sex life or not, but use the kink as a tool to experience pleasure, to heal, and to really enjoy life. That's it. I wish you an amazing day. Thank you for being here. Have a fantastic week and go ahead and have a bear experience. See you next time. Mwah. And this is where we landed. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you enjoyed the show, make sure you leave me a review to let me know. For more bear experiences, please go to simonaspark.com/bear and follow us on Instagram at simonasparkworld. I can't wait to have you back. Until then, be bear, bold, authentic, radical, expressed. See you next time.